The title of the exhibition, The Place Is Here, is taken from a poem in a work by Lubaina Himid. She writes, "The place is here and the time is now." We're interested in looking at the 1980s as a really important decade that has shaped our present moment. A moment when the relationship between government and the public went through quite a radical shift in relationship to how they understood one another. I was interested in looking at this extraordinary conversation amongst black artists, thinkers, writers, intellectuals. A number of these artists were looking for images of black people in the media. They were looking for images in art history and they couldn't find them because what they were being presented with at art school was a European American white art history. And so they were using their own image as a means to explore identity and representation and what it means to put an image into the world and under what terms.
They're self-portraits. This was really a response to growing up in the UK where people of colour and definitely women of African descent were absent from fashion and beauty publications. With this particular piece, I was really keen to realise the idea of skin colour because it was about skin and it was about the different power that's associated with different skin tones. They're lith prints and it's using a very highly silvered paper. You develop it in darkness for up to 30 minutes. I would turn the safe lights on in the dark room because it would switch very quickly into a split tone which gives it that pink tone, which is actually an optical illusion. So it is black and white, but it's taken on this staining which gives it the idea of skin.
Within these works, the political and the cultural, the political and the intellectual and the aesthetic are always inextricably tied.
Both of them are prints that I made in 1981. The yellow one, which is called My Yellow Etching, is a piece of work about international women's struggles in the 80s. And the other piece is about the uprisings, sometimes people call the riots, that happened in 1981. There was so much going on, and in a way, it connects to what's happening today. The stuff that was going around was more about white feminist politics, and so we felt we needed to say something about black feminist politics.
You'll see with a number of artists in the show, they use collage, they use montage, from newspaper clippings to historical references, and they take them apart and put them back together. So they reconfigure history and identity under new terms. So you'll see within the exhibition archives, photography, painting, installation. These disparate elements are put alongside one another to try and conjure up new meanings or different meanings or constantly changing meanings. Collaboration, collective work was an integral part of working through these questions, cultural questions, intellectual questions, political questions, whether that's the film collective or the Black Art Group.
So the Black Art Group was a group of students that were at art schools, mostly in the Midlands, and the group formed in 1979 when Keith Piper and Eddie Chambers met whilst they were on a foundation course, and went on to organise a number of exhibitions and conventions or conferences. The Black Art Gallery was a really important space at that time, one of the few spaces where young emerging artists could show their work for the first time and meet other artists.
What I hope that people take from this exhibition is thinking about the relevance of those histories for themselves for today. There's no one story within this show, there's multiple stories.
People only tend to look at the present, they don't tend to look back in art practice unless it's sort of like looking at modernism still in this day and age. And I think it's a really important show in that respect because it suddenly shines a spotlight on something which was seen as very peripheral at the time at which it was being made.
There was this very important moment, a moment of crisis, but also a moment of great creativity. and that we need to understand that in order to understand what we're making today.